Right guys, I have for you what I think is a very special video. Focusing on this trail arm movement is going to cure so many things in your golf swing. It's going to help you create more lag. Why do we want that? We're going to compress the golf ball, we're going to gain some distance, and importantly, make sure we strike the ball before we strike the turf. We're also, with this magic movement here on the trail arm, we're going to improve our swing path. So if you're someone who's swinging out to in, do not worry, this is going to cure it. And at the same time, it's really going to help us control this club face a little bit better through impact for more controlled ball flights. So I know this sounds too good to be true, but actually focusing on this trail arm movement in this delivery part here into and through impact is so vital. And that's the drill I was just doing at the start there I'm going to jump into. So trail hand only, working on this magic movement. So let's just talk about, first of all, the little bit I mentioned at the start about creating lag. Lag is just that we're maintaining some angle in our wrists and losing that angle at the right point. We have to lose it. We have to let that speed get into the club head, into the golf ball. So we can't just maintain, but we've got to let it go at the right point. A lot of golfers are letting their lag go way too early in the downswing. Very inefficient, generally causing the strike point to be way behind the golf ball and a real loss of speed. So with this trail arm movement, I'm just trying to get the focus that my trail arm keeps moving towards the target in front of my trail hip. You can actually see into this delivery position, my elbow is ahead of my wrist, and that's a really good place to be. If the elbow stalls, the club would start to catch up, and you can actually see the wrist catches up with my elbow, and I'm starting to look like I'm flicking it, scooping it into impacts. That's what we see with a number of poor strikers. We really want to focus on the elbow moving towards the target. That's part number one. That's going to help us create the low point after the golf ball. It's going to help me take a bit of loft off the golf club, which is that magic word we always hear, compressing the golf ball. So we're actually getting more efficiency from it by taking a little bit of loft off the golf club. Now, the other parts this does, this movement here, if I can focus on maintaining this angle in my wrist, almost like my fingertips are bent back behind my wrist here, I'm actually keeping that club just slightly behind my hands into delivery. So if you're someone who's over the top, you'll generally have a wrist angle position like this rather than like this. So let's try and feel like the hand is bent backwards, that my fingertips are further behind my wrist. That's really going to help my delivery of swing path. And lastly, I mentioned about club face control. So in that delivery position, before we hit the golf ball, what we'd like to see is the club face more matching my spine angle. And that's something we see with a lot of good modern players. It used to be taught a long time ago a little bit more toe up, and there's perhaps a bit more hands in the release here. When you look at the majority of good modern players now, and for quite a while actually, not just of recent, they're getting that club face a little bit more turned down, more matching spine angle, and there's a more passive release through impact. I'm not suggesting there isn't hands and arms, but the controlling movement is really what the body's going to be doing. So to get that feel, I'm almost just trying to get the sensation my palm is facing down to the ground. Now I know this is a lot. It may not be that you have to work on all of this. You might already do some of these parts very well. But actually when we're doing some slow exercises and we're only focusing on this part of the golf swing, yeah, I can start to multitask. So wherever you want to put your lead hand, I'm just holding it where my trail hand would normally be. Focus on those couple of points. Elbows moving in front of hip. The club is behind my hand, so I feel like my hand is bent back. And I've just got some awareness, perhaps, if you need to, of my palm facing a little bit more down to the ground to control that club face position. So that one went, lovely strike, but it went a little bit right of target. So I would suggest I'd actually need that club face just a little bit more turned down. Let's start it for a right hander, right of target, and curve it back. Yeah, I think so. There we go. Started right, drew onto the line. Very, very happy with that. So start with some small movements, just focusing on what this trail arm's doing. I would then, as a next stage, put 2 hands on the club, but try and make the same movements. Let's start with that. Yeah, same sort of ball flight, nice and straight, very happy with the contact. Definitely getting the sensation I'm getting ball, then turf from there. No chance of this kind of movement hitting the ground way behind the golf ball. So if that's an issue you have, really focus on the elbow moving forwards. If you're struggling with the out to in part, you might put more focus perhaps on that feeling of almost the fingertips being behind the wrist. If you've got an issue with the club face being open, so right-handers leaking the ball way out right, you may just put your attention a little bit more into that palm starting to point down. So you can really tailor this to what your needs are depending on your ball flight. So there's one last thing here that you might well have seen happening. So my arm is bent, but just after impact it is straight. So my elbow is extending, my arm is extending. I've got to throw that club. As I said, I can't create the lag and keep it all the way. I'd miss the top of the golf ball. So I've got to let that club fall down to earth eventually, just doing it at the right point. And that's really helping me create some extension of that trail arm, which is also a movement we want to see through impact. When that arm is extending, your body will start to extend also, get out of the way. So we start to use those vertical forces that we really want to see in the golf swing. So focusing on what this is doing through here, works on 5, I think. I've lost count. Different things. Really, really huge, and something that all good golfers have in common. So they might make different movements here, but you look what they're doing through this part, and they all start to look pretty similar, don't they, right? So let's work on this trail arm movement. I'm going to do one more little quarter swing, and I just want you to focus now on also that extension part. I'll just do it one-handed, that extension of the arm through impact. Yeah, so my arm is nice and straight out in front of me. And actually, if we were working on the release position, you would see the club shaft almost parallel to my feet line, the toe of the club pointing up in the air. So really, when you're working on an impact, start with small movements. It's so hard to work on impact when you're making a full move. Work on some little quarter swings, half swings, and build it up. Let me finish with one full one. Well, that felt great. I love the fact that when you do some of these small little drills and then you go into a full swing, you can get some of those sensations, some of those feels that we were working on in our practice swing, we can actually then put into the full movement. So it really is a magic movement of that trail arm. I wasn't exaggerating. It can work on multiple areas to improve your quality of strike. And ultimately, that's what we're trying to do, isn't it? It doesn't matter what it looks like if we can create a repetitive, consistent impact position. I hope that video helps. Put some comments below. Let me know how you get on with it. Do give the exercises a go, obviously on the driving range or at home first, before taking those feels to the golf course. If you enjoyed the content, hit the thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to my channel for more content just like this.